Hey everyone, Lisa Turner here from Psychademy, and today's live is all about step 4 in your steps to spiritual awakening. So let me just recap the steps for you. So step 1 is integrate the conscious mind and the unconscious mind. Oh, hello, whoever's just joined. Hello. Step 2 is remove the blocks in the unconscious mind. Then step 3 is integrate the unconscious mind and the higher self. Now, if you haven't found those other steps, just if you look on the page, all the videos are there, so you can go back and watch those. If you have any questions, pop them in the question box. And if you're watching on the replay, I will just still type them in, because I will I'll answer them. I'll type the answer in later. So step 4. So step 4. So you've done the other. We're going to assume you've done the other steps. So you've let's just remind ourselves. So you've integrated the conscious mind and the unconscious mind. That's meditation, trance work, that kind of stuff. You've removed the blocks and the filters within the unconscious mind using our process higher self therapy. You've integrated the unconscious mind with the higher self. That's with the higher self initiation activation. So the final one is raising your vibration, raising your spiritual energy, activating those spiritual energy circuits. So how do we do this? How do you raise your vibration? So a lot of people could talk about this. And I've been doing a little bit of research. Being an engineer, being a scientist, I like to do a little bit of research. So first of all, I asked myself this question, and I don't know that we've really got a definitive answer yet. But this question of what is vibration anyway? Like, vibration is not something you measure. You measure frequency, and we talked about we've talked about raising our frequency, but some schools talk about lowering your frequency, because when you the higher the frequency you are, that's when you become matter. So lowering the frequency, I don't know. So is it amplitude? So if you think about a wave, a sine wave, so the sine wave will go like this on the graph. So it'll wave up and down across an axis. So the amplitude is how far it is. So you might have little, we might have big, right? That's the technical term, right? So amplitude, do you mean by raising the amplitude or is it frequency? Or so when we talk about raising our vibration, what do we really mean? So I actually think that might be a little bit of a red herring. I think it's all about being able to run more energy through your system. And one of the ways I think about it is like this. It's like there is the only energy, when people talk about the only emotion, the only true emotion is love, and everything else is resistance to love. And that sort of makes sense. I kind of get that. But I wonder if there's actually something more going on there. I wonder if it's more about that. So it is that. And it's that, so people talk about emotion. So what is emotion? It's energy in motion. So if there's only one true emotion and it's love, then love is energy in motion. So the idea is that love is energy moving. And if energy is moving through us, then what we feel is love. And if energy is being resisted, then what we feel is that resistance to love. And that will show up as a negative emotion. And we talked about that in our last Facebook Live. So I'm going to share with you something that I've observed. You know, at the time of recording, we've had this incredible. So we've had incredible transformation, and it's like a lot of chaos in the world. So we've had bombing of cathedrals and churches. We've had Notre Dame burning down. We've had climate change suddenly becoming the hot topic. Now, I remember seeing the results of a specific climate change model going into that researcher's room back in early noughties. It was like 2001, 2002. And seeing this graph and seeing, you know, it had been 8 days or something like that. It was running the model because processing power was so expensive. And he had a whole rack of PCs that he'd rigged up to run together to give him enough processing power to run this model, and got it down to only 8 days. And the answer happened to churn out at the week that we were there, the day that I was there on another project. But the professor of that guy was like, I was like, oh, we've got the results. You have to come in. We have to come in. Let's look. And we all looked at this graph. And there was this point at which, as he was measuring, he was modeling the influence of projected influence of how much carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, and the link of that would have with raising the temperature of the planet. And then there was this, at this point where it would go catastrophic, where you could no longer reverse it easily. And that's what we're talking about now. That's what people are talking about now. And back then, so there was this line and somebody said, okay, so that's where it hits catastrophic. And we saw the little graph go and the CO go, and it's like, okay, so this is based on current projections, based on our current emissions and how we imagine and project. So it's all guesswork. Well, educated guesses based on some really hard sums and tricky maths. And there was this point at which it was going to go, this catastrophic cascade point. And I don't think that's what they're calling it now, but that's what he was calling it, something like that back then. And one of the guys in the group, there were about 20 of us in this other research project, and he was looking at this and he said, so what are the units across there? What's that point? What's the time scale of this? And the researcher looked it up and he said, 2054. And there was this silence. It's like, you could see everyone go like, 2054? Like, that's in our lifetime. That's 50 or just, that's less than 50 years away. We are going to live to see this. And then it got weird. I mean, the group, like normally research, we have our little presentation and someone, shows some graphs. It was another research. It was another project that the meeting was about. It was actually about just weather mapping, weather modeling, the day-to-day changes in weather. And I remember, so there was this silence and people were like, I got to phone my family. It's like everyone wanted to connect and remind themselves and then bring themselves back to some kind of normality, realizing that like something pretty serious was going on. And this is, I remember back then they were like, no one is going to believe this. No one is going to want to hear this. And yet this is, and I'm actually really joyful that this is the message that's coming out. So first of all, the question is, can it be reversed? Yes. Does it mean that we're going to need to change our whole society? No, but yes. Doesn't mean, I've just done a whole talk about, if you're on my mailing list, you're going to get this video and I'll do another Facebook Live on that topic. But let's talk about raising our vibration. So at this particular moment in time, we're at this point where we're at this birth of a new future. And the invitation is to start thinking about what is the new future that we want to create. And to start living that and recognize this is not about blame. This is not about shame. This isn't about judgment. This is about us. Just really at the level of us, our consciousness being raised, our awareness of self, our awareness of others, and our awareness that we live in a system that doesn't always work for everyone. And it doesn't always work for anyone, frankly, because our whole system is largely based on, it's almost based on kind of separation. So how do you raise your vibration? Well, the way you raise your vibration is you remove from it that which lowers it. So there's this idea that in order to connect, that there's something you need to do or something you need to be or something you need to have. And when you recognize you are love, you are the living embodiment of energy, of source energy. And when you recognize that, you will embody and be the living embodiment of love and of a high vibration. You are a high vibrational being. It's just that there's something that's, or someone or some doctrine that has had you believe that somehow you're not. Somehow you're not that high vibrational being. So, and that's one of the things. So we do this with you in two ways. We assist you to bring into your awareness what is suppressing your vibration, and largely that is restrictions in your neurology. And you'll feel that as one way you'll feel that is negative emotions and limiting beliefs, but you'll also feel that in lack of choice, and you'll experience it in like, so I think that at the fundamental level, what everyone craves and desires is love. And a dysfunctional way that we express this and experience this is we crave to feel love from another or to give love to another. But when you realize you are love, you just are love. That's your natural state of being. When you recognize you are love, what happens then is you don't need to get it from outside of yourself. And you don't need, and you can give it, but then you can give it unconditionally. Now, unconditionally doesn't mean you don't have boundaries and people walk all over you. It does not mean that. Unconditional love, what that means is you love somebody because you recognize that they are a child of the universe. They are also an aspect of source. And even if they're behaving in a way that is denying their embodiment of source, even if they're behaving in a way that's denying that, you can still love them because you love that they are source. And you can do this for yourself when you learn to do this for yourself. So one of the ways you activate, the first way you activate your spiritual energy circuits is to recognize that you are source. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to get anything. You don't need to fix yourself. And in fact, that whole word, that whole concept of you, that you are broken and needs fixing. Listen to how this is how close this is to like drug addiction. I've got to get my fix. I've got to be fixed. And then what happens is it kind of perpetuates this cycle. You know what a drug addict does is they feel fundamentally not okay in their life. So they get a fix and they feel okay, and then that wears off, and then they don't feel okay, so they need another fix. And then what happens is they need a bigger and bigger fix to just feel okay. So my invitation to you is to start recognizing where you are fundamentally okay. You are okay. You are just fine. You are love. You are an embodiment of the divine. And if you want to experience more of this and learn more about what I'm getting lots of downloads about what's going on right now. If you want to join us and get those downloads, I am, and I'm going to put a little link here for you. I'm running a 3-day event called, let me get it. I'm going to get it. Running a 3-day event called How to Be an Abundant Spiritual Leader. Because this is this is where you can embody an abundance of love. And when you have an abundance of love, when you know you are love, then you will have more money. When you know you are love, you will experience more love. You will experience more opportunities. You will experience better relationships when you know that you are love. So this is why we have abundance in the term, because it's not just abundance of money. Like money is a symptom. Lack of money is a symptom of lack of love. So that's what you are going to heal for yourself, that any indication, any misunderstanding that you are not infinite source love. So if you want to join me on this, if you want to learn more about what I think is going on in the world and how this relates to like this birth of a new future, if you want to be part of this, and if you want to experience all of the steps to awakening, integrating the conscious mind and the unconscious mind, removing the blocks and filters, accessing your higher self and raising your vibration by having those activations, then join me on this 3-day event. Because here's what we're going to do on the event. One of the things we're going to do is we're going to take you through the higher self therapy process live so that you get the complete clearing. And if you missed that previous, I think it was last video, no, 2 videos ago, step 2, go and watch that one. But what higher self therapy does is it completely releases all of your anger, sadness, fear, hurt, and guilt. Now by this, I don't just mean you'll feel a bit better, or you'll understand your problem. There is so much stuff out there. It's like, oh, you just need to understand your problem. It's almost like there's these two dogmas, these two myths. The first myth is you're fundamentally not okay. And the best you can do is hope to understand it and live with your problem of being a deeply flawed human being, right? So we're going to get you to the state. You are going to get yourself to the state, really. In fact, your higher self's going to do it with some suggestions from you and me. You're going to get to the place where you know and you recognize you are fundamentally completely fine, and there's nothing wrong with you, and never was, and completely release those limiting beliefs and those painful emotions. So you don't just feel better, you don't just understand them, you don't just tout out some story about why you can't do this thing you really want to do because of this thing that happened to you in the past that stops you. It's gone. Completely gone. So it can take you through higher self therapy. You're also going to experience that higher self connection activation. So what we're going to do is going to raise your vibration, bring your higher self so it's into your body. And then when that's happened, we just step out of the way, because it's a little bit like a Reiki attunement. You know, once you've had the attunement to the Reiki symbols, you're a Reiki practitioner and you're level 1, 2, 3 or a master. So you're going to be your higher self, and that will be ongoing. So it's like this activation that we take you through, that so that you have access to your higher self in an ongoing way forever and ever. So that's the other thing. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to read full invocation of my guides and or the spheres. Actually, when it'll be and or, it will be. So my guides know one guide. So I invoke them. You'll dialogue with them and ask them any questions you like. And then what we'll do is I might also bring in the spheres. I'm pretty sure that the next event and all the details are in that link. Everyone asks, how much, where is it? Go check the link, right? Because you might be listening to this way down in the future. And it might be after the early bird pricing. So if I tell you now, and then you go, but you said in the video. So I don't know when you're listening to this. It's whatever it is on the page. And the venue is on the page. So click the link. Click the link. What do I mean by that? I mean, click the link. It's a clue. Yeah, back to what happens at the event. So higher self therapy, release all your negative emotions. Anger, sadness, fear, hurt, and guilt, limiting decisions. Higher self integration, initiation, activation, bring your higher self so it's into your body so you have access to it all anytime. And the other thing, I'm going to invoke my guides and you can dialogue with them so that anytime you want to talk to them, you can. And we give you lunch, I believe. Check the page though, because if you're watching this in the future, we may have taken that off. But at the point of recording this on this date, whatever it was, but check the page, it'll be at what, but I believe we give you lunch. So if you have any questions, if you're watching the replay, that's great. If you liked this, click the like button. If you want to share this, if you think someone else would benefit from this, click the sharey button. And if you have any questions about anything, about the event or about this raising your vibration, activating your spiritual energy circuits, post them in there or join us on the event. So I will see you when I see you. Till then, lots and lots of love. Bye for now. Bye, my darlings.